Hello everybody, and welcome to a new video today about Enphase. So, as you may know, I'm an Enphase shareholder, not investment advice, but I love Enphase. I think Enphase is a great company and a great way to play the wave of solar revolution that's about to come. But I'm mostly invested in Enphase because of the microinverters. I think it's a much better way to scale with microinverters. You need one inverter per panel. The growth of solar panel cells is only going exponential, and so if under every solar panel, mostly Chinese made, there is a US inverter, an Enphase inverter, we can easily see how it's a higher margin, it's a better business. I love Enphase because of the inverters, the micro inverters, which is pretty much an innovation they introduced to the market. But from these microinverters, Enphase has a much bigger mission now, and they just want to be your source of power, or the source of power independence. That's kind of their new mission, and therefore to do that. To be fully energy independent, you have to talk about battery walls, or power walls, as Tesla calls their battery wall. You have to talk about batteries in the home. The battery wall is essential for energy independence when we discuss solar. But before I go into this video and talk a little bit about the different battery walls, let me just begin by something that I've said in prior videos, which is the assumption. So what is my assumption with solar, and why I really believe in solar? So the assumption is that energy independence can be achieved with solar on your home's roof and a battery on your wall for the evening, right? For at night, if you need power at night, you need to have a battery on your wall. And if you have both solar on your roof and battery on your wall, you can achieve full energy independence for your home, and that's regardless of where you're located. And this assumption, which most I believe will know to be true probably 10 years from now, maybe less than 10 years from now, is rooted in the fact that solar is getting cheaper and cheaper and better. So this is, for example, a chart of what people thought solar was going to be, the curve, the cost decline curve, the prediction versus the actual. So each time there's been a prediction about solar has been underestimated, and this has been the real decline in cost in solar. And so are we going to get, I don't know, an 80 to 90% decrease in cost of solar over the next 10 years? Most likely, maybe even a little more. This is by how much solar has dropped over the past 40 years. As you can see, it's been a tremendous 400x decline in the cost of solar. Solar is a technology that rides on silicon and that uses the learnings that we've had manufacturing silicon-based product, uses those learnings and applies them to creating these solar panels, which are the purest form or the purest way to get energy from the sun. This is another very interesting chart on solar panels showing that in experimental settings, we are getting pretty near 50% efficiency of our solar panels. Of course, the current solar panels that are commercialized are much closer to the 10 to 20% efficiency, but they're going to get better. And so it's going to be less and less space on our roof as we go forward in years, as we go in the next decade. You're going to need less and less roof space for more and more energy at a cheaper and cheaper cost. So that's the assumption behind investing in Enphase. If you invest in Enphase, you have to believe in solar. And the revolution that we see in electric cars, the revolution of Tesla, we also owe to a declining cost curve in batteries. So this is the price of the price of lithium-ion batteries since 1992, and as you can see, the cost decline has been just falling off a cliff, absolutely insane, and we see no sign of slowing down. The cost of batteries is getting cheaper and cheaper. Battery prices plunged 89% in 11 years, and of course, a home is not as space constrained, for example, as a car would be, and it's going to keep declining. At least that's the bet I am making for my investment in Tesla. As a reminder, Tesla is my number one investment. No investment advice here. But what is my humble view? My humble view is that in under a decade, switching to a solar battery combination will be the obvious choice for most homes, regardless of where you live. And this is what Tony Seba lays out. Even in Alaska, at some point within the next few years, it will make sense. So energy is going to get so cheap because of solar, because of these cost declines. And so the value proposition will become so obvious and so much higher, especially as utilities, right? Your electric provider is going to have to raise prices because they've made very, very costly investments that have to be paid for, right? A lot of utilities are very, very highly indebted, and they're hoping for increases in price, and people are not going to take those increases in price kindly. They're going to move to this system, I believe, which is going to be much, much cheaper, abundant energy, and it's going to be much more reliable because you're not going to have to worry about power outages when you need the power the most. Centralized power is prone to outages, and you're not going to have to be subject to forced price increases as we see in all of the utilities and all of the utility sector. They are always raising prices. Battery tech and solar tech is a deflationary technology. Prices are coming down in that sector really, really, really fast, perhaps as fast as the utilities are raising prices to pay for those investments and to create a return. So, anyways, now that I'm done with that tangent, and I've laid out my bullish case, by the way, much greater depth in other videos that I will put in the description. But so the battery is essential for this vision of the future. And so where do you get that battery? Or, said otherwise, is there a case to be made that Enphase battery wall is also the best product, right? Could the Enphase Powerwall, it's not called the Powerwall, it's called battery wall, but could their battery solution become a significant part of the Enphase business, which right now is not part of the valuation of Enphase, if you ask me. Enphase right now is all about the microinverters and the installer network and the microinverters, essentially. That's essentially part of most of the valuation of the business. But this is what Enphase is shooting for, right? This whole idea of a whole home system with this would be the battery, right? The battery pack for your house, the battery wall. Let me put it smaller here. And Enphase is shooting for this whole system where you have a few solar panels on your roof with solar investors. Remember what I said about the cost of solar panels going down. And it's all connected to a whole house system, connected to a load. And you power your entire house with the solar panels to charge the battery. And also your car, your electric vehicle. Since most cars are going electric, I mean, I also do believe that the convergence is here, and we're going to have mostly electric on the car. Your home is entirely independent, entirely powered independently, and depending if you're a new construction or old construction, you may or may not have connection to the grid. And if you're still connecting to the grid, we could also envision a reverse relationship where each household resells extra electricity to the grid for companies or for other houses that have not made the switch yet. So this is a beautiful vision of the future that Enphase is executing on. And if solar panels is a major chunk of that vision, batteries is the other major chunk of that vision. They go hand in hand. So for the sake of simplicity, when I'm going to compare the batteries, I'm not addressing the kilowatt hour capacity. It's all about between 7 and 15 kilowatt hours. But what you would do is that if you get a smaller Powerwall type product, right, you would just get 2 of them or 3 of them. And you would get multiple ones of them if you have an electric car, for example. It all depends on the size of your house. So I'm just not going to talk about the kilowattage, but I'm going to talk about the main products out there, because I spent quite a bit of time looking at this and looking at installers and what installers think and believe and what they promote. So let's talk about the Tesla Powerwall. So one thing when we talk about Tesla is we have to realize that they're not going to have enough batteries, right? Even if they do the 4680 cells, which they wouldn't use in this type of product anyways, but we're just not going to have enough batteries at Tesla to do all of the things that they want to do in electric, right? Because they want to do cars, they want to scale cars, they want to scale semi trucks, and semi-trucks are probably 5 to 6 times the amount of batteries you need. They have a Cybertruck coming up, and they have the Megapack, the industrial. So I really think the reason why Tesla has not been pushing its Powerwall right now is because where do they find all of the batteries? It's really, really tough. They have to make choices, and it doesn't seem to me like Tesla is really making the choice of a Powerwall right now. Maybe one day. Nonetheless, they were the pioneer. Tesla was unquestionably the first popular company to bring that idea up front, that your house will be powered with solar and a Powerwall, and that's all you need. They also own the brand Powerwall. They are kind of the ones who set out the vision, but I believe Enphase is executing on that vision. And I also believe that Tesla wouldn't mind. I mean, if you really hear Elon Musk talk about the way he views patents and the way he views the mission of the company, I'm not sure Elon Musk minds as much. In fact, whenever with a GM or Ford produces a milestone of electric vehicles, he's on Twitter and he says congrats. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, there's competition, of course, but Tesla can't execute the vision on everything. And this is one area where I think Enphase may be the one executing that vision better than Tesla. But Tesla nonetheless did the Powerwall. It's definitely the best looking one in my humble opinion. They essentially turned the battery pack for your home into a consumer good. If you can get your hands on it in some neighborhood, it is a status symbol. I mean, think about the branding genius, the marketing genius behind a Tesla Powerwall. It's stunning. But it's old now. The Tesla Powerwall is old technology. And remember the charts I showed you as to how fast this tech moves. It's old now. And there's problems in 2023. For example, they don't use LFP batteries. They use NMC batteries, which is a chemistry that's not as good. It can't take as many cycles. There's issues with that thing, and they don't have with that technology, and they don't have a latest certification. And that certification is very important to have a 9540A certification, because if you don't have it, they must be installed 3 feet apart. And so that's a problem, obviously, because you take more of that wall in the garage, or there is some problems with the Tesla Powerwall. One advantage that the Tesla Powerwall has had for a long time, contrary to maybe what some believe, is that it's been the low-cost leader. Like, it was the lowest cost for a long time, but they recently made price increases on the Powerwall. So now they're not the cheapest anymore. They're rather medium cost now, but they used to be the cheapest way to do it for the longest time. And the biggest issues, of course, with the Powerwalls is you have wait times up to a year. You have to be in an area where they actually sell them. There's a bunch of issues, and if you can get your hands on one, it's very complicated. And most often, if you have a bigger home, or if you have an electric car, you may need 2 of these or 3 of these. So good luck getting your hands on them. It's really hard to get your hands on them. Why? Because Tesla is not pushing them. Tesla is reserving the batteries for the Megapacks. They're reserving the batteries for the cars, for the trucks. I believe that's why it's hard to get your hands on them. Another thing going well for the Tesla Powerwall is the app. I mean, if you have a Tesla car, your Tesla app handles everything, and it's a great app. But the system has issues. One of the big issues is that you cannot bypass it like a cohesive system. And we'll talk about this a little more when I talk about Enphase. Enphase has the major advantage that you can consume the power from your solar panels straight in your house without having to go through charging the battery. And it causes issues, for example, when you have a Tesla Powerwall and it's a hot summer day where the system is going to reset every 30 minutes because the Powerwall is full. And when the Powerwall is full, it shuts down so as not to overheat. So you have issues in the fact that you can't bypass the Tesla Powerwall. So these are all things that can be addressed. And you know, a new Powerwall would go a long way in addressing all of these issues. It just doesn't seem like it's a priority for Tesla right now because they have bigger opportunities elsewhere. And, you know, I understand them. If you don't have the network of installers, why would you spend so much money right now in that product? So anyways, Tesla Powerwall, great product, pioneer. We owe so much to Tesla in that field, but we're not pushing it. We're not promoting it as much as the cars and the other products right now. All right. let's move on to another one. The Franklin Whole Home Battery System. Installers like this one. It's actually the least expensive one. And it was launched by a Silicon Valley startup. I think it was backed by a bunch of VCs. And it's certainly innovative. It allows you to control your home with an app. So you have your classic app and you can turn on or turn off appliances, circuit systems. It has very high peak power. So that's like a big advantage if you have like a very big, a very large AC unit, for example, that needs to start. This will start it up because it has very, very high peak power. A lot of good technical things going for it, along with the design and the cost and the app. So your classic Silicon Valley company, that is a good system. But of course, it does not work like an Enphase whole house system either. This is almost a system that you may want to use without solar, just as a battery backup when your battery runs out. Nonetheless, a good product. Okay, the third product out there that I see most commonly referred to by installers is the Generac Powerwall. It was very popular in 2020, 2021. But from what I see, installers are very upset at Generac and do not want to sell Generac anymore. And I'll tell you why. This is like one of the channels that I follow here. So why do they not want to do that? They don't want to do that because there was issues with a rapid shutdown system. So really quickly, the U.S. electrical code, the code requires that panels are shut down within 10 feet of solar panels. So you need to have a breaker near the roof so that if there is a fire in your house, the firefighters can come and they don't run the risk of getting electrocuted. So that's why you need to have a shutdown system near the panels, very close to the panels, within 10 feet. And so that's also one of the reasons why Enphase is doing so well, because since Enphase has one microinverter per panel, it's very easy for Enphase to shut that off. Companies that had one major inverter for every single, for a whole system before, they needed to add something back to the system. Enphase never needed to do that because they had the microinverters already ready, and so it was as simple as adding a little thing to the product. So, what were some of the issues with the rapid shutdown system? Well, Generac came with sort of a patch where they added a remote control relay to shut off the solar panels, a small remote control relay which was radio controlled, and so you would come to the battery pack and you would shut it off, and then there would be a relay shutting off the panel at the level of the wire. And the problem is that they didn't do a test right, and the devices were melting. They were known to melt whenever the power was too high or the heat was too high. And because those devices were melting, the entire systems that were installed with a Generac Powerwall, many of them would fail. And so homeowners were very unhappy that their system failed. And since the systems were failing, these installers had to come back out, remove all of the panels from the roofs, just to change those relays. And so this has led to a lot of distrust from installers and even bankruptcies. And so installers now have lost trust in Generac because they've had to send back out entire crews and teams to their customers' homes to get back on the roof, remove the solar panels, get the relays, replace the relays, reinstall the relays, close it back up and come down. And so you have had bankruptcies because of that. And so a lot of installers are very upset about Generac. And keep in mind that you whenever you install one of these, you have to have a network of installers. That's why the competitive advantage of Enphase here is really good, because if you don't have a network of installers, you're going to have a very hard time selling your product. This is a product that needs to be permitted. There needs to be plans. There's a back and forth with each city. It changes from city to city, from state to state. So anyways, this was very problematic, and the fact that installers are not recommending Generac, I think, is a very interesting turnout of event. Generac of course, being the leader in home backup system. They were the leader with their gas systems. So very concerning for this company, I would argue. And there's a bunch of videos showing the issues here. All right. And now let's talk about Enphase. So Enphase, per the installers I've seen all over and the reviews that I've seen, Enphase, especially in their new version, the IQ battery, the 10T IQ battery, Enphase seems to be the most preferred system by installers and therefore by customers as well, because it's a very symbiotic relationship. If you go to an installer, you're going to take the installer's advice, and so Enphase seems to be having a lot of traction on the market. So why? Because it functions as a whole system, and Enphase is all about redundancy. So they have redundancy with microinverters at the solar panel level. So while in the past you had a central inverter, if a central inverter failed, you lost power all over. Now you have an microinverter at the solar panel level. So if you have one solar panel that fails, then you don't lose all of the power. So that was a big deal. And they've taken that philosophy of redundancy and they've applied it to their battery as well. So their batteries are organized in 12 cores as well. So you think of it as like 12 mini batteries. So because of this redundancy, it's very hard for the entire battery to fail. Typically, the one thing that would fail is one core or two cores, but not the entire battery. And so this is a better system over the long run, because you may have a core or two that fails, but not the entire thing, because there is redundancy. They also have a 15-year for an extra $1,000. They have a 15 years warranty, which means that they stand by their product. And this is out of the ordinary to have a 15-year warranty on a battery, especially when you consider all of the cycles that you can have. And why do their batteries last longer also? Well, they last longer because of the ability to bypass the battery. And when the sun is shining, you can use the power from the sun straight in your appliances without having to go through the battery. Some of the drawbacks of the IQ battery, of the IQ 10T battery, is backwards compatibility. It's a drawback. Installers prefer to install Enphase with everything Enphase and go on with a new system. But I would argue this would be a bigger problem if we were, 5 to 7 years in this revolution. Right now, we're still so early that I don't think it's going to be a problem to not have backwards compatibility. It's probably better to start on good basis, because, like I said, we're still very, very early in this sector. And like I said, this is the big one: is solar panels can power your home directly without having to go through the battery. So if you don't use a lot of power at night and there's a lot of sun around you, well, your battery is going to last you very, very long, because you don't use the battery very much, because you're bypassing that battery and you're leaving that battery alone. So this is kind of the big deal, and as to why people prefer the IQ battery. The IQ battery is a little more expensive, but because it all works in this seamless system, people seem to be very, very, very satisfied. So in conclusion for this video, Enphase seems to be preferred by most installers, at least that I've seen on YouTube. And if you go on YouTube and look at all these installers, you'll see these are big YouTube channels. Like this is a major trend. This is not a small thing. These are big YouTube channels. Also in Europe, you have things like that, telling all of their advice. I mean, this is a big field. Microinverters are safer. They fit the code. You can shut them off at the level of the panel so that your house can be up to code and less likely to get on fire. So that is a good thing. Enphase has typically liked to compete on their entire system. And I'll show that chart again if you can zoom. They've really tried to compete on the idea that they have a whole home solution. And you don't have to worry about any other brands, because you can have everything be Enphase, from the microinverters to the battery to the charger, right? They bought an EV charging company recently. It's part of that vision where your charger in there, and you have, of course, monitoring and cloud, which is also another big deal, where you can monitor your consumption over multiple years and see what's working, what's not working. So they focused on this entire system, this one point of contact, this one customer service phone number. This is this one network of installers. This is what they've competed on and what they focus on. And it served them very well, because other companies have tended, say, to compete only on cost, for example, or only on features, and they haven't taken a holistic approach. And I would argue that competing on cost, I mean, in the short run, it may make a difference, but in the long run, given what I've outlined at the beginning of this video, related to the drop in cost of batteries and the drop in cost of solar panels, as we inevitably scale, prices will be reduced. Like, even the premium company will reduce its prices. Tesla has started reducing the price of its cars, especially the Model 3, right? So prices will go down as all of these manufacturing facilities scale, and as we get the benefit of economies of scale. And actually, recently, Enphase has begun reducing prices of their wall battery. So this has begun, and there's only one way for the prices of this product, and it's down. That's the only way. Prices will go down because of these technological gains in efficiency, decreases in cost to the scale of the manufacturing, and gains in technology and in our ability to manufacture. Because of these costs, they will inevitably be passed down to the end consumer. And so I'm very optimistic about this. Energy is central to an abundant future and to the future of technology, and so this is, I think, Enphase may derive a significant part of its revenue from battery cells in the future, based on the reviews and based on the reviews on the ground from customers and from installers. So, none of this has been investment advice. This is just entertainment. Thank you for your support. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you can. Really appreciate it. Really helps me out. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Thank you.